Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? I gotta tell you, the people, why I'm kind of whispering. A couple weeks ago, I picked up this 2.5 pound box of TGI Fridays fully cooked half chicken with sweet Carolina sauce and natural smoked flavor with a reusable pan included. I got it from my local grocery store, but now they don't even post a picture of it on their site anymore. I don't know if I've come across a product that I shouldn't buy, or we the people shouldn't know about. Could this be another government conspiracy that's got leaked? Is this food from Area 51? Will you the people please remember me if I get Epsteined? But I'm really not kidding. I've never run across a food like this. Usually when I find a food to review, I do a lot of Googling and a lot of research on the product to give you, the people, the most accurate information I can. Which is why I think I might not want to review this product. I could find other information on the TGI products, but no half chicken with the sweet Carolina sauce. But then I finally found it. And once I got there, and it linked me to the Spartanburg Meat Processing Plant's LinkedIn site. And then I went to their website, and I saw a whole bunch of products, but I didn't see the TGI Fridays with Southern Carolina sauce in it. What is going on here? This whole time, the theme song from Mission Impossible is playing in the back of my head. At this point, I was really getting creeped out. But then after searching the web for a little while, I found a lady who actually found the product. And she cooked it, and she served it, but it never showed her trying it.
We tried TGI Fridays fully cooked half chicken with sweet Carolina sauce. Yep, I got it on discount. Finally, I sat down and enjoyed dinner.
And then the screen went blank. Then I went back to the Caribbean Mimi site, and she uploaded this video 2 weeks ago, and now it's gone. What is happening here? Government conspiracy or not, I'm gonna do this. For you, the people, so you don't have to. And the one thing that really concerns me is the date, July 4th. Today is June 3rd, and I bought these about a month ago, and they've literally been sitting in the bottom of my fridge. Are they protected by radiation to last that long? So here's the half chicken right out of the box. So the directions say to remove the plastic, put the chicken in the pan, and then pour all the sauce over them. That's pretty simple enough. I sure hope it's a chicken that comes out of here and not a baby alien. Now that's actually a good sized piece of chicken. I wonder if it's a mutant chicken. There's also a lot of sauce there. That's like a whole bottle of sauce. You get a 2-pound chicken and a bottle of sauce. Now it goes into a preheated 375 degree oven, uncovered, but I guess with that much sauce, you don't need to cover it, for about 20 to 25 minutes, or until it reaches an internal temperature of 165 degrees. And here's our whole half chicken after cooking according to the package directions. I figured the knife would go right through it, but I guess we hit a bone. But to me, that's actually a good thing that the knife didn't just break through the joint because it was overcooked and tender. But the meat still had some good texture to it and wasn't just falling apart and getting stringy. But I do have to admit, poor hand coordination played a bigger part in that than the knife cutting skills did. My fork and knife coordination just aren't what they used to be, but they must be working good enough because I certainly don't look like I'm starving. But I was able to shank off a nice piece of thigh meat. And to be honest with you, it did not look bad at all. And don't you just hate that stupid saying I just said? Well, to be honest with you, that looks great. That makes no sense. It either looks good or it doesn't. The better way to say it would be, in my opinion, that looks good. I mean, think about it just for a second. How many people have you ever talked to that ever said, well, just to be dishonest with you, that looks great? See, you, the people, not only come to the Wolf Pit to watch subpar food reviews, subpar cooking videos, really bad dad jokes, while once in a while I do get a good zinger in there from time to time, like the one about the elephant and the graham cracker, arithmetic lessons from time to time, and now bad grammar lessons. What more can you ask for in your yearly fee you're paying for? Speaking of arithmetic lessons, I have a true story to tell you, the people. When my daughter was in the 3rd grade, she brought home her math homework and was having a really hard time with it. So me being the great dad I am, I helped her with it and ensured that she had all the correct answers. I didn't give them to her, but I made her work for them. She came home the next day crying because she got every single one of them wrong. I, the father, misunderstood the directions and did not explain the correct way to do her homework. Needless to say, I didn't get the Father of the Year award that year, and that is a true story. But after many follow-up trips to Dairy Queen for ice cream after school, I was back in good standing. But never again did she ask me to help her with her homework. Well, as I was rambling on about my epic failure with my daughter's homework, I forgot I'm doing a food review here on TGI Friday's Mysterious Chicken that I'm not even sure I'm supposed to have possession of. And I guess that's kind of a good thing, because if you've been watching the video, I've been digging into this chicken like Hannibal Lecter, except I'm using a fork and he would just use his teeth. If you've noticed, I've consumed a lot of the chicken. And the reason being, but because the chicken is actually pretty darn good. I'm definitely not going to go out and say it's the best piece of barbecue chicken I've ever had. The flavor is good, they've definitely provided you with enough sauce, but there are some dry and mushy parts, which is to be expected of a reheated piece of chicken. But at $10.99, it's not a great value at all. You'd be better off buying a rotisserie chicken and a bottle of barbecue sauce and heating it up at home by yourself. So if the CIA, the FBI, or the people in Area 51 are listening, this chicken gets a 10 out of 10, and it's spectacular. But if I'm not being bugged and monitored, and there's no chance of me being Epsteined, I'm going to give TGI Fridays half barbecue chicken with a sweet southern barbecue sauce a 7 out of 10. Now for you, the people who have been around for a while, if you remember 5 years ago, I did a review on the not-so-secret TGI Fridays baby back ribs with sweet southern barbecue sauce on them. And I inadvertently bought another pack, not remembering that I already did a review on them. So I'm going to go ahead and do another review on them and see how it compares to the previous review I did 5 years ago. Now, just like the half chicken, they come with a reusable pan. You dump out the ribs into the pan with all the sauce. And there's not nearly as much sauce for the ribs as there was the chicken. And that's actually a small rack of ribs compared to the size of the chicken. And they cost the same at $10.99. So these go into the oven according to the directions on the box. While the ribs are in the oven, here's what the ingredient list looks like. And it's actually not too bad. There's 5 servings per rack of ribs. Each serving has 320 calories, 16 grams of total fat, 6 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 75 milligrams of cholesterol, 600 milligrams of sodium, 15 grams of carbohydrates, no fiber, 10 grams of sugars, and 20 grams of protein. Now I counted the ribs on the rack, and there's 10 ribs. That means each serving is 2 ribs? What kind of Weight Watcher point system crap is that? Can you imagine how many starving pygmies in New Guinea you would piss off if you only fed them 2 ribs? Thanks again to my doctor for giving me the right medications to control my temper, because that right there is also worthy of a White Castle rant. But I digress. So here's what a 1600 calorie, 80 grams of total fat, 30 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 375 milligrams of cholesterol, 3,000 milligrams of sodium, 80 grams of carbohydrates, 50 grams of sugars, and 100 grams of protein rack of ribs looks like. I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but most people would eat that whole little rack of ribs. But maybe that's why there's a problem with obesity. Who knows? So here's our TGI Fridays rack of ribs after cooking according to the directions on the box and heating to 165 degrees. And as you can tell, they're plenty tender. With a little better hand coordination, you'd actually see how tender they really are. But as you can tell, they're falling off the bone. God gave us 2 hands and 2 arms for a purpose, and I'm not really sure why we only use one in this portion of the video. But I guess that's just how I roll, pun intended. Now when I finally got the fork out and I shanked that piece of pork, I'm glad you guys couldn't hear what I said. Because at this point, I was pretty frustrated at my dexterity and coordination skills at this time. Like a 3-legged dog trying to bury a turd on an icy lake. It just wasn't working out in my favor. So into the old pie hole and down the gullet the pork went. And the pork was obviously extremely tender. And I don't want to say the pork tasted old or bad, but it kind of did. Not like a spoiled old, but just like an old meat flavored old. Does that make any sense? Maybe a better example would be like you have a piece of meat or a pot roast in the fridge that you reheat it for dinner the next night, and once you reheat it, it's not as good as it was the first night. But then on the third night, you have a little bit left and you don't want to waste it, but you reheat it and realize you should not have, and you should have thrown it away. Not because it's spoiled, it's just been reheated too many times. That's the flavor and texture I'm referring to with these ribs. These ribs weren't horrible, but I definitely wouldn't get them again for myself. But I'd have to give these ribs a 5 out of 10. They definitely weren't even near close to as good as the chicken. But I do have to say, the bones came clean on their own. There was no effort involved. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.